Hi everyone, welcome to Unapologetically You. Today's podcast is the episode where we discuss success and its connection with relationships, but more specifically, why are relationships the key to business success and what type of success is within our relationships? But before we begin, thank you so much for supporting us either on YouTube or Spotify. If you're part of Podbean, thank you again for taking time to listen. As you aren't, or if you're not aware, if you're not part of Podbean or Patreon, click over to the description box below. You can support us via Patreon just for a price of a cup of coffee, and you can find out how to support us on that. You also get extra bonus stuff like the green room chats that Kelly and I participate in. And we'd appreciate if you know of anyone who can benefit from this podcast, share this with your family and friends. So without further ado, from my jumbled introduction. Hi.
Hello. How are you going? I'm good. I hear it's going to be 36 degrees in the UK on Friday.
On Friday? I don't know. I'm going to get my hair done on Friday, which I'm like quite pleased about. But also, I'm kind of liking the sun and the summer entering. It's probably a quit because I think it's this weekend. It's summer solstice.
21st. Is that this weekend? 15, 17, 18, 19, next Tuesday.
Here and there.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about it. It's sunny and always.
So what does summer solstice mean to you? Does that mean your summer starts? I know it means the days start to get longer for us and shorter for you.
Yeah.
But it means summer starts, does it? What?
I'm so sorry. You know when just before you explained that, just before you said that, when I said the solstice is when everything begins. Did I say that just then? I'll have to go back on the recording.
You did.
This sharp buzz, like high-pitched buzz, just went through my ear and just zoned everything out. I was like, what the F was that? So
was it a noise from here?
No, it just came in. Like, I think it's spirit or something. I'm gonna have to spit it out
straight through your brain.
No, we went straight through and just sat and just vibrated. And so when you were talking about the long days, I just completely,
okay. I don't know what.
And I was like, shit, what did she say? I've been giving a warning about something in summer.
Yeah, something. Well, yeah,
that was weird.
We were only talking about the summer solstice.
I've never experienced.
Can you hear me again now? Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm fine now. When I started laughing, that's when I could hear you properly, and I was like, "What the F?" I have to tell her. She'll get it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're okay, and I hope it meant something, and I hope you find out what it meant.
Have you ever had that?
No, not a pain going through my brain like that.
No, it was like a ringing
in my ear,
like a high
ringing
ring.
Maybe. I don't know. If I did, I've never worked out what it was.
I'm going to let you ponder on that this evening. Okay, so you go from the summer solstice days that you
summer solstice, does it mean summer starts in the UK?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But then that's the thing with seasons. It's so interchangeable. You can get 3 seasons in one day in the UK. So it is quite random.
It is. But the summer solstice to us is not the start or beginning of a season. We are quite literally month to month. So December, January, February are summer, March, April, May are autumn, June, July, August are winter, September, October, November are spring. So it doesn't go on the moon or anything like you probably clever people do. So the summer solstice means to us that our days start getting longer.
I think that's what it means, but I always interpret it as it's the first day of summer. But this is the thing. When you described the 3 months of seasons, that makes sense to me too. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. And listeners, do you know what summer solstice means?
Yeah, there'll be a smarty pants out there who does. Just let us know.
No, Tuls, you've got it completely wrong.
Girls. Yeah.
Before I got anything else wrong, I think we were talking about in the last podcast the differences between what we class as success and what we deem as happiness. Yeah.
Yes.
Or does happiness lead to success, vice versa? So I found a really interesting picture online, and it was me scrolling through my Insta post. I found this science of happiness, and I thought it was really beautiful because it talks about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. So each of these
Endorphins,
are classified as chemical reactions that lead to happiness, right? So I'm gonna test you, Cal. Can you guess what each of these contains? So what would be involved with dopamine? So that is
dopamine is our reward. Yeah. So I actually do know that one. So I work with a lot of Parkinson's disease clients, and dopamine is what they lack. So dopamine is what we have to create in their session. So it would be a little success or a big success, but a success. So something that they consider, yes, completed, good. So finishing something, doing something well, learning something new. So a success.
I love those, and it's such a great practical example because the symbol, the picture that I saw, celebrating little wins. That's how you get those dopamine hits. You do self-care activities and eating real food. I didn't know that was a dopamine hit. I knew food was.
I didn't either. I must get a lot of dopamine that way though.
Food was, which is great because, for listeners who don't know, me and Kelly are on this celery juice at the moment, and like trying to endorse eating real foods and having real juices and things like that, making things from scratch. And obviously it helps with the summer coming up, and whichever season you're listening to this to, basically is so good for your digestion and skin and overall health. So if you want a free smoothie recipes, head over to fitnesschicks.com, just as like a little side hit on that.
No, they're good recipes. I like them.
Oh, bless you. So then, okay, oxytocin, the love hormone.
Oxytocin is the hormone that is given to women to induce birth. So it's also the one that you get a rush of when you hold your sweet little Bubba in your arms. Oh my God, that they say babies bring the love with them, and they do, because that hormone is released.
Yeah.
Most of the time in women, there are some instances where it is not, but it is a treatable thing. With that's postnatal depression. But yeah, oxytocin, the love hormone. Also, maybe that's endorphins. Chocolate.
Ooh, I'm going to pause on that one. So,
right, that might be
right. You're right. That was endorphins. So oxytocin, playing with your baby or dog. That's interesting.
Yes, a little puppy.
That one. Hugging your family. I love that. I love that. And then also giving a compliment.
Giving or getting?
Giving a compliment.
Giving, yes. There you go.
Probably this is only like 3 things on these certain areas. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure like receiving a compliment can also be a part of oxytocin in some degree. But then you've kind of sidelined onto endorphins, the painkiller, apparently. So you've already hit the nail on the head when you said eating some chocolate. But dark chocolate,
unfortunately. I was going to say, unfortunately, I think it's the chocolate. So I'm a milk chocolate lover.
You are. That's why I was like, not Freddos.
Freddos, I know, they do no good for you, not hormone-wise, but they can build you some good body fat.
Yeah. Can you guess the other 2, though? You'll probably nail these.
Oh, no, I don't think I can. Or endorphins.
So think about the painkiller. If you look at women who peak at certain elements and men could lower their pain tolerance by doing more of what?
Exercise.
Yes. Breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
Breaking a sweat.
Yeah, okay. Breaking a sweat. Okay.
Yeah. One way of enhancing endorphins. And for those of you who aren't already a part of my Fitness Chicks Instagram, this is just like promoting Fitness Chicks right now. I put a post on I wrote a post on about using essential oils, and it's so surprising. Like if you've got headaches, if you're feeling fatigued, if you know, even if you've got period pain, ladies, using certain essential oils can actually increase your memory, your focus, get you so much more relaxed. You know, all of these different essential oils. I made a post on Fitness Checks, but that is a series of, you know, an endorphin release, which I just found so fascinating. So I'm so
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that essential oils could.
Yeah, me neither. So it's kind of like a nice little link there. And then the last one, serotonin. Give it to me, Cal. What do you think?
Serotonin is.
Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. It's so 2 hints: the chill pill and loads of things that you already love doing.
Oh, okay. So tree immersion or forest immersion. Yeah. Because we both love doing that. And another thing we both love doing is meditating, but I'm getting better at it, whereas you're really good at. Oh, is that sunbaking?
Yeah, you got 3 out of 3 on that one. Yes, nailed them all. Honestly,
it was your what's it called? Your charades that got the last one going.
Guys, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you're probably thinking, what the F is Tulsi doing?
Pair of crazies. Yeah.
So yeah, the chill pill is walks in nature, sunbathing, meditating, all results in serotonin. So if you have a look at, like, obviously we're talking about success and relationships, but it's so important, I felt like, to go through that science of happiness, because it doesn't matter whether you get success or not. If you don't know how to scale your happiness or understand what makes you happy, no matter how successful you will get, no matter how much money, no matter how much accomplishment you receive, whatever goals you hit, those things are dependent on that goal. The happiness is reaching, right? There's no sustainable way of keeping that happiness. But it's also good to know that you can incorporate it in everyday life, right? If you're feeling
absolutely. Yeah, which is also why lists or to-do lists are good, because every time you tick it off, that's a little hit.
Yes, it's the small wins. And already you've ticked off dopamine. Yeah. Or say, for example, you wake up in the morning like I do and meditate, or you break a sweat. That's another 2 things crossed off your list. So not only are you accomplishing those small wins, but you've got dopamine, serotonin, endorphins right there. Also, we say giving a compliment, but how many people, honestly now, how many people give themselves a compliment every day?
Oh, I would say less than 50%, way less.
0.0000 probably. Like there's no statistic on it, but everybody's so critical of themselves. Everybody's really harsh on themselves, or even get caught up in everyday life, that they just feel they don't have time to pause, which is completely understandable. You know, life can get a bit challenging, and there's a lot of circumstances around certain people that makes things difficult. But it's almost like, well, actually, just give yourself a compliment. Just look in the mirror. Somebody actually said this to me. I can't remember. It was Mel Robbins. I think she might have just said, look in the mirror and say, I love you. And everybody who hasn't done this will scoff at it, because I did that same thing. I scoffed at it and I was like, that's pretty stupid. I don't want to do
that. But you have done it?
I've done it and I've appreciated it. And it's like, it's personal. It doesn't, you're not proving yourself to anybody. It doesn't matter if you look like a ghoul. It's like, you have to live with you. You have to be in your own skin and with your own thoughts day in, day out. Why not just give yourself a break once in a while, right? And go.
And you can also say, I love your values. I love your values. You know, I love your morals. I love the way you get up in the morning. I love the way you put your clothes out the night before. You know, anything. But, you know, like we say, those little wins, and you don't have to. Sometimes you can say, I love you to yourself and go, but I love you, but there's parts that I still want to improve. But, you know, if there are parts that really you did well for 1 minute in a row, or 2 minutes in a row, go, you held that together real well, kiddo, you know?
It's like
lots of little
appreciating your
compliments you can
own
give yourself.
wins in life, because like me, I used to be like, okay, on to the next one, on to the next one. And yeah, I accomplished a lot in my career so far, in life in general. But it's almost like, well, now I just want to appreciate. I don't want to just get the next hit. And it's almost like, well, how do I make sure that this length of happiness, this inner happiness, can be sustained no matter what the circumstances, right? And that's where I think meditation and some of the tools that we talk about in previous podcasts come in. And I think that it can be more long lasting, because if it's outside of ourselves, it's short term. But if it's inside, it's definitely a lot more long lasting. But we said last week, the definition of success, I really liked this, Cal. When we said last week, the definition of unapologetically you was our clarity on the goal, not the audience size or outreach. So I guess we're looking at everything. It could be classed as unsuccessful, but that isn't what we looked at. And the fact that we refined the agenda made us look at the broader picture as a success for the podcast. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, absolutely. Terry actually gave us a compliment the other day too. He said, you guys, yeah, he really liked it. So that, a compliment from Terry is a real compliment. It's a true compliment.
Yeah.
And so, some people will just hand out compliments willy-nilly, and you kind of go, oh, thank you, but you are just so gorgeous and such a sweet human to everyone that you would say this, yeah, but I love you for it, kind of thing. But yeah, when someone gives you a compliment and you know that it's a well thought out, deliberate, out of their way to say it kind of thing, you go, holy moly. That's when you kind of wonder, is that really true? Because that's a huge one. That's a big one.
Yeah, it's almost like saying, I'm gonna like kind of not dumb it down, but in terms of like give an example, like rather than saying, oh my gosh, I love your dress. Yeah. Sometimes that can kind of bypass, but if you say that dress is so good, because your eyes just light up and it brings out the blue.
Yes, say why. Yeah.
Right? It's connecting with a person. Whereas I always think that if somebody compliments me on the dress, if they say that's a cute dress, I was like, well, I don't know how to thank the designer. Like, but if somebody says,
and often they're asking where it's from as well by saying that, so it's not really a compliment.
Listen. So when they say, oh, that's a great dress, I'm like, great. And then if they say, you look great in that dress, but those are two different wordages, like they're two different meanings. So I'm just like, all right. And then obviously, even if it was a compliment to you, I don't take it as a compliment personally, right? So I don't know, it's a bit like that when Terry probably said whatever he did as a compliment to you, it was very specific and it was very worthwhile because it was orientated in the detail, right?
Yeah, no, it really was quite specific. So he complimented on the number of podcasts that we've put out. And
high five to us. We're on season 3.
High five to us. But also the content in terms of it was like building a course, like our season 3 episodes 1 through to we did 3-parters, so that was a 9, 10, 11, 12. How many?
We're on 20 now. We're on 20.
Yeah, it was like a series, and they all build on each other, or they don't actually build necessarily, but they complement. The 3 parts build. The 3-parters build, but they all complement each other. And he recognized that and noticed that and liked that. So that was a very specific compliment. Yeah.
I love that. And it was great that we, came together and burst out that creative idea. I like credit to you, Cal. It's like you put an idea and then it just grows and evolves and we kind of collaborate on both of our experiences. And I feel like that's a bit like going back to the definition of success, we mentioned it last week. Now, if we understand that happiness alone isn't standalone, success, even mentioned, it's an individual interpretation. You can get success from everything and anything. Like you said, it's a small win. Like even if the overarching, overarching, it depends upon what you class as success in this whole area. Yeah, you may not have been successful in the number of views on YouTube, but it may be successful in terms of the overall context of what we're trying to give our audience in terms of the journey that they're going on, the messages that they're trying to receive. It's classified as a success, that in itself. But what many businesses classify as success will be different for each and every one. But apparently there's a correlation between success and relationships being a significant factor for entrepreneurs. So let's clarify. Business means winning and keeping customers. Well, the key to all of that is relation. So there is a correlation between business and success, which is relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Right.
And I don't think that within this podcast, I don't think this would even exist if we didn't establish their friendship first. These conversations.
No, I don't think I would have felt safe or comfortable enough to be vulnerable with many other people. So yeah, there was but our friendship has gotten stronger over the course of the podcasts.
So much. It's like it's not even just the chats before, the chats during, the chats after, like understanding your history, your interpretation. It's like the way we're collaborating, the way we're finding out more research, and then more stories and experiences come out. The knowledge that you have is, giving me that information too. And it just means that we're making this a little bit more comfortable for us. It's almost like, we're just having a conversation, right?
Yeah, our conversations have really started to flow, haven't they? So, initially when we first started, we had it all typed out. We knew what we were going to say and what we were going to ask. And
that was probably me and my control, like.
Well, it had to be, because otherwise it wouldn't have been an interview. It would have just been babble. At that stage, it would have just been babble, because we didn't really go into it with, we want to find this out about this person. We just want to find out about this person. And they've achieved success in a certain arena, and we want to know, we want the fast track way of learning that success, which we did with so many people. And what we learned with other people was how not to do it. So they also hadn't worked out what to do, but they worked out what not to do. And sometimes, or a lot of time, I think finding out what you don't want to do is way more important, or way more fast tracking than thinking you know what you do want to do.
I think it's just like, you may have a goal and idea in front of you, which means, okay, this is what I want for my business. This is what I class as success. This is what I want in my relationships. Doesn't matter what it is, but you have to figure out what doesn't work before you understand and solidify what it is you want. It's like dating, right? You're gonna have to go through all of the dating, like people that you don't want, just to go, yeah, okay, I've dated you, I don't want anybody like you, and I've had this relationship that's not for me, right? You've got to figure that out. But let's take it back to coaching. So something that we're both familiar with.
Okay.
I'm not that familiar in the dating world. I think that I've got a lot of failures, so it's probably one thing that I'm not gonna divulge on. But let's look at coaching. So would you say coaching and relationships have been highlighted more in this decade than any other? And so even though athlete and coach relationship is one of the unspoken rules, right? It is a foundation when it comes to having an important relationship for a successful program. But, why is it being highlighted now more than before? Even though we'd already known internally, like, this has to be an important relationship. We have to establish this with our clients, with our athletes, with our team.
Well, maybe one reason, and this is only a maybe, is that more women are starting to be coaches, and women quite naturally have that relationship building gene, that nurture gene. And male coaches don't naturally have that relationship building gene. They have a mate building gene, but there's a big difference. And I think sometimes the success that can be seen from the relationships women build with each other, with their athletes, as a team. There are some male coaches, and Brett Bartholomew put out a book on it, right? Conscious coaching. And people were raving over it. And I haven't read it, but I do know. Well, I just haven't read it because I'm like, that's what I've always done. That's what Tuls has always done. That's what Nikolai's always done, built relationships. And as women, I think it comes quite naturally. And so that's why I think there's been more about it. Look, Brett Bartholomew really brought it to the table in a big way, in an expansive, broad way, because he's got a very big platform. So I think without thinking about it, women bought the book and went, I need to do this. And then I've got to do it this. And then they realise, I do this.
I'm already doing this. Yeah.
So many females read the book and said to me, we already do it. I already do it. I feel sort of, I don't need to read that. And a lot of guys read it and went, oh God, like, where do I start? Although it was a very good book to tell them where to start. But so I think maybe that's why it was brought to the forefront in the last 10 years. And because it did bring success on the field in sport, that close knit. Yeah, I think so. I think celebrating small successes is more of a feminine thing than a male thing. And that might not be true if you actually look at the statistics. I'm just thinking about mothers with little children and fathers with little children. Mums will celebrate everything. And dads will go, oh, finally he's walking. It took you 9 months or 12 months or whatever, but mums are like, oh, I took a step, oh, standing up, oh, took a hand off. So every little thing gets celebrated, and that just follows through. And you probably find yourself with that, Tuls. You certainly do with me. Everything I do, you go, oh my God, step forward.
It's funny you say that, because I didn't used to do this before. So when I said earlier, guys, this bit is in the green room, so if you haven't checked that out, it's on Patreon. But what I did say, and I'll just summarize, is I was very much a goal-orientated person. I'm very practical. This is where
really was.
Literally, this is the goal. This is my 5 to 10 year plan. I've hit it. I've achieved it. I move on. So much so, even the big wins, like when I got my master's, or even when I got my UKSCA, which is a big freaking deal, especially at that time where I was struggling mentally. I didn't tell anybody this, but at that time I achieved it, and I was like, and what? Is this it?
Yeah.
Like, I think I was looking for that feeling of joy and happiness, that I put so much emphasis, so much time on it, that just because I didn't get it within that short amount of time, just because it wasn't fruitful for me, I moved on to the next thing. So I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't just about the certification. It wasn't just about the degree. Right, now I need to get a job, right? So it was never ending. The list was obviously as long as my arm, and I kept ticking them off, which is fine. I was very goal orientated, which meant I achieved things in quick succession.
Yeah, but you weren't celebrating them, were you?
I wasn't celebrating them. And I feel like in the past probably 4 years, having gone through a lot of internal triggers and digested a lot of things that I needed to go through for my own sanity, and whichever relationship I go into, when they say self-love first, I finally understand this. Because even though I nurture relationships and I'll nurture other people's small wins, how can I do that for myself? And then I'm way more vulnerable than I used to be, like say 5 years ago, way more vulnerable. So that means that then affects my relationships. But I feel like if we go back to the business success of things, so if we go back to the practicality side of things, where we're told coaches, relationships are important to athletes, right? But I think that what's enhanced in S&C was the networking in coaching. And I don't think females, I think they do it well, maybe not in their own industry, because there was a study I said in a couple of podcasts ago that females network outside of their company, which means if they happen to leave, they're way more successful because they just happen to have good relationships, and they don't class it as business networking. They're just being friendly. And that's
being friendly. Yeah.
I think that women really do nail this. Whereas, as you so rightly said, there needed to be a handbook for some males because they didn't have that come naturally. Whereas I would naturally form relationships. I've gotten better at it. I've been more authentic and intentional with it. But I've also learned how to network as an industry, and then being intentional, right? Being vulnerable, connecting to people of influence, like heads of departments, where I wouldn't have done that before because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go speak to them. I don't feel like genuine, but it's like, it's okay. You can just speak to them for the sake of speaking to them. But then it's like with every industry, it's who you know. It is who you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Tuls, networked, she got over that fear and networks and kind of knows Toto Wolff. So you got over that fear.
She doesn't apply to me anymore. But now that I've left, she doesn't answer my message.
Oh.
I think he's a bit busy, let's be honest. So this year hasn't gone according to plan. But
no, it didn't.
There's not many people who have their private number, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So, that was something that you were a little bit hesitant, not fearful, but hesitant over.
For sure, because I think for me, I probably psyched myself out and other people psyched me out by going, make sure you act this way with the directors, or make sure you do this and that and this and that. I remember sitting at the airport with two very high senior directors in Mercedes, and I text my friend, just messing around, going, guess who I'm sat with? His response was, be careful, they're very senior. Like, just watch out, they're very senior. And I was like, what I didn't tell you in that message is the director had driven the car with the other director. So I was the extra in the car. So we'd driven to the airport. I'd obviously heard the conversation because I'm just sat in the back of my room. What do I need to contribute? They're arguing about traffic right now. Let's just leave it.
Yeah, nothing to say.
Men driving, don't want to contribute to that. And then you normally go off in your own ways when you get to the airport. A lot of the team do. Like, they kind of go in their own groups, go get food, whatever.
Yeah.
Majority of people have access to the business lounge or the first class lounge. I was very intermittent especially when I first started out. I wasn't traveling as much, so I don't have the right or the authority to go into the business lounge. Yet the director invited me. So I'm like, this is pretty sweet. So I'm this sat having food with the senior guys, and I'm just having a conversation with them. So when I messed around and text my friend, knowing he's probably the only person who's going to know who I'm sat with and why.
Yeah.
Whereas if I text everyday Joe, you're not going to understand. It's like saying somebody
I wouldn't have known.
It doesn't make sense. And that was really telling in that, by going, wait a second, to somebody, general public, especially in the company, would be like, oh my gosh, that's Toto, or that's so-and-so, and that's so-and-so. And they've been in Formula One for decades, they are senior. That would have been fine, but there's always that fear or anticipation and a level of reservedness, a reservation. Whereas I was just like, they're just people. They're just human.
Yes, and they probably don't want to talk shop all of the time.
Well, they did. They were asking me what I was doing and how I was doing with a project, and they knew of me, which I was really surprised about. I'm like, oh my goodness, it is me. But again, it's just having that conversation. Yeah, if they didn't want to talk shop, what else have we got in common? And it's like, well, they're just human beings. They're just people. So it's like, and then obviously I went all the way to the boarding with them, and I was there in line with them while one of them was talking about their family, and I was like, when would you ever get this type of opportunity? So it wasn't a case of I need to be in this environment, I need to conduct myself in a certain way, I need them to network with. It was like a series of events had led me to spend this much time with a person, but there was no hidden agenda. There was just having a relationship, and you never know what that ends up leading onto. And I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on S&C networking, business networking, of present yourself well, do this and do that. And it's like, the right people will find you, the right people will connect with you, because as they always say, you always get into business with your friends. And I know people say that's a bad idea, but they do. They get on with people they like. They're going to promote people they like. You're going to be a director, or you're going to be a partner with the people you like, as well as obviously intelligent people. So hopefully they're one and the same.
Yeah. I think they would be one and the same, because you wouldn't pick someone who wasn't. Yeah, you wouldn't attract someone who wasn't. Let's put it that way. Yeah, that's a great story. I hadn't heard that one before. But
First time I told it. I never told that to anybody.
No, it's very cool. Very cool that they invited you into business class, or first class, was it? Or business?
Yeah, I think it was business class. So you can get a guest in, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I've been to business class a few times as a guest, but I haven't ever been to first class. So,
well, we'll get to that dream. We'll get.
Of course we will. Oh my gosh!
But it's okay.
Then we'll celebrate.
I was gandering around the internet, and I was finding out relationships. How do we enhance our relationships for success, like for business success, whatever it is? And I found out 5 big things. So I'm not going to ask you. I won't ask you to guess them, Cal. But if relationships are key on their own, what does a successful relationship mean in order to get the dream job, build a team around you, or gain new clients? So what are the keys that you should look for when building a successful relationship? So one of them is, I won't throw you on the deep end, it's knowing your patterns. So patterns and behaviors are important to understand. When we are entering into a relationship, whether it's a business meeting, we're reaching out to a friend, I feel like we need to understand our relationship patterns, what our own needs are, before we expect others to adhere to them or even acknowledge them. And one example is someone who overgives. And I used to be like this, right? So someone who overgives or struggles to ask for support, and another person who is happy to receive and may thrive in their teamwork, right? So if this is part of a working relationship, resentment can often build up. And so the person who's always giving may feel resentment to the person who's always receiving.
Thank you. Yeah.
But that pattern, if you didn't know it exists, it now filters into having an emotional response, and then leads to other behaviors or lack thereof. So give me some, what do you think about knowing your own patterns? Because it took me a little while to understand what
for sure. And I think it does change over time as well. I think it's really important to know what makes you happy, not even what makes you happy, what you need before.
From others or from yourself.
People like, what you know what you need for yourself. It can be from others and it can be from you as well, but what you need. Like, I need a little bit of time to myself. I do enjoy having time to myself, and I don't have to do anything in particular. I'll do housework, but I like doing it in a house by myself. So that's important, and something that I really need for my own health.
But then doing that, if you don't have that time by yourself, whatever you're doing, it's your call, right? It's your time, it's your autonomy to use doing whatever you do. But if you didn't have that, your relationships will probably suffer. Like your family dynamics will probably shift, because it's like, oh, I'm getting frustrated because I haven't had this time to do whatever I need to do by myself, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The frustration would come sooner or quicker, or you just sort of be a bit snappier. Definitely, for me. And you just explain it.
I love that you said that, because that then leads on to the second one I found out, was knowing your triggers. So this is such an important one. We've obviously tapped into it now already, but if we think about, many people don't know themselves well enough to know their triggers before going into another relationship. And we're talking about relationships as a blanket, not just boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend.
No. Relationships with everyone. Yeah.
Everyone. So it's almost as if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your triggers, you're hiding your skeletons, and you're carrying extra baggage, and you're expecting the other person to deal with them whenever they crop up. So yeah, it's like, how do you knuckle down and figure out those things? I think we talked about therapy before, right? There's a lot of things that people don't even, they suppress, or they're not even aware of, because
they're not even aware of most of the time, I think. And they do suppress it, but they're not aware that they're even suppressing it.
Yes.
You know, but then that begins the physical emotional becomes biological, which is, mind body, right?
Yeah.
So it really pays right at the very beginning to find out what you need to function as a happy, bright, sensible, giving, loving, valuable, contributing to society human.
Yeah, for sure. And you need to understand what you want, how you need to get there, and then try and convey that to other people, especially if it's, well, that doesn't align with my values or my morals or, my experience. How do I convey that? And I think that's the action step. That's not even, we're in the awareness stage right now. And I'm so glad that you said emotions, because the next one is mastering your emotions.
I'm wrecking this whole thing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Maybe for this games today, I think you've just you small wins more, right? Tick, 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 tick.
My psychic ability.
I
My
love
gosh.
it. Well, this is the thing, because you said about emotions, triggers
Yes.
of emotions lead to sometimes inappropriate actions. But I like this, because when I first came across it, I instantly understood why it's important in relationships. But some say, well, I'm not being myself, I can't share my thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
But that's different though, isn't it, Cal? If you're looking at thoughts and emotions, they can be quite different. I think if we're not talking about down regulating your emotions, but we're able to communicate them, because they often stem from our memory or circumstance, or it hasn't anything to do with the person in front of you, it's personal to you. Is that similar to the emotional triggers that you feel or you may experience?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Little triggers that I'm working out along the way. Or probably just becoming aware of, because I'm allowed to become aware of them. I think for a long time I was just so busy, or so focused, that I didn't let my thoughts wander. And when sometimes you do let your thoughts just wander, little epiphanies come to you. Yeah. So I've got more time now to just let my thoughts wander. Meditation is great for that as well. I mean, you do try to bring it back to a focused point, if there's something you want to meditate on. But sometimes it's just so free and easy. It's just that your thoughts wander and just see where they go, because they'll always go somewhere that's needed or important, that you're just suppressing or brushing aside. But if it's important, it'll come to you in those moments. It does to me.
And I like
what about you?
Said, I want to kind of continue on what you've talked about, especially when it comes to emotions. It's like sometimes we have such limited vocabulary and understanding, let alone awareness to our emotions, that we often tend to suppress it. Like, I remember we released a reel on why is it hard for men to be vulnerable, and this in his association with understanding your emotions, because it's what society has already taught you from a young child. It might be what your father has told you of, be a man, don't cry, what are you crying for, there's nothing to cry about, and all these things. It's like, we don't know people's backgrounds, people's experiences, people's traumas and their own struggles. So if you're approaching emotions in that way, to actually take a step back into meditation. Deepak Chopra and Michael Beckwith talk about this massively when they say, if you've got a problem, or if you've got something that doesn't align with how you're feeling, thinking, or being, it could be an emotion. It could be some emotion that you're like, why is this here? I like, what is going on? meditate on it.
Yes.
It's the same with a problem.
Yeah.
If you've got a problem, instead of asking 15 people and then trying to get that one person to agree with you, and then it's just confirmation bias.
No.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like going, well, I know the answer. I know what the answer is. Instead of wasting my time and energy on 15 people, let me just go within, meditate, figure out what the answer is. And how you've saved yourself some time and energy, and you've brought yourself back into that higher level of awareness. And what do they say?
Yeah.
Einstein came up with a theory of relativity. You know, people come up with symphonies that are magnificent because they've gone into a state of, let's just be with our thoughts. Let's just see what happens. Let's just allow these epiphanies to happen, because they haven't gone into an emotional state. They've gone into a non-reactive state of awareness, subconsciousness, that allows all these miracles and fascinating things that humans are capable of to happen.
Yeah, there's a story I heard, and I cannot remember who it was now, but let's say it was Einstein, and he'd had this big wing chair that he would sit in. So he was sitting upright, and I don't think meditation was, but then monks would do it back in the hundreds of centuries ago, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe he was calling it and deliberately doing it as meditation. But he'd hold a penny between his thumb and his forefinger. His thumb and one of the fingers anyway. And he'd put his arms on the chair, but he'd hold this penny. And the state where he could just still hold the penny, have that awareness that he was holding the penny, but, you know, you'd wake up and almost drop it, wake up, almost drop it. So just hovering in that semi-state of awareness, like you said. And his best ideas would come just before he dropped the penny. And so that's where the saying, the penny dropped.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't know if it's true, but I love it. And I think it could be true.
Let's just believe it is. I mean, if anybody has any theories, please do tell us and let us know.
But even if it's not true, you know exactly what I mean. Like you're there, you're just in that hyper aware or just on the edge of falling asleep, but not asleep because you're aware you've got to hold this penny. And that's when all his best ideas came to him. So that's when our best ideas are going to come to.
That is 100%. We need to do more of that. But it was funny because that was another story about a president. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was Benjamin Franklin or it was a president. And then I don't know if it's UK or America. I don't know. Anyway, so a person of a high authority, of a leadership position, there was a story about him meditating or napping a lot of the time. They were like, well, how do you lead the country when all you're doing is napping? Or you say to your team, I'm going for a nap. And I was like, that's when my best idea.
That's why.
And this is why I problem solve. And it's just like napping with this, we know there's so much research to benefits of napping. But there's so much genuine. And remember, society conditions us to be a capitalist society. So you wake up, and why is food 3 meals a day? It's because the industry, way back when, was you breakfast, you break for lunch, and then you go home and have dinner. That doesn't work in our society anymore. So how do we shift it to make sure that we're functioning and we're performing the best we can? Because if we're honest, we're entrepreneurs. Our day is different to the 9-to-5 day. Our day is going to be different to shift workers. So it's just like nothing is given anymore. So how do we approach our own day and our own performance the best way possible? And I think that actually that then ties back into the fourth one that I found out was how to create better relationships with one another for a successful business or for success in general. Be flexible in your approach to boundaries. Now, we spoke about boundaries before, haven't we, Cal? Like what we can and cannot tolerate needs to be communicated. We need to understand our own boundaries, and then how do we convey that to enhance the relationship? So if you bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was listening the whole time. I just knew that tickle was.
I just saw that little bit of a pause, so I paused.
Wait a minute. All right.
If you unknowingly trigger someone, well, that's not going to put the other person on the back foot, and it may lead to unfavorable circumstances, such as a blow up or anger or speaking words that can't be taken back. So I struggled with putting boundaries in place because I felt like I didn't know what they were. So it was awareness before action, right?
Yeah.
How are you with being flexible with your own boundaries and other people's boundaries?
Much better since I discovered what my own principles and values are. Because again, I was putting up fences willy-nilly. Like, there's a big field, let's put one here. You know? And I was different with different people as well. So, you know, you'd be a little bit more flexible with some people, and other people would go, nah, like, nah. And so I didn't know myself either, because I was different with different people. But, you know, when we learned about setting values, and I did set those values, much easier to know who you are and where boundaries should be set pretty consistently.
And the thing is, if people don't respect those boundaries, well, then you know where they stand, and also where they stand in relation to where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
worth investing in a relationship. Say, for example, let's take this as a stock. If a stock is going down, you're not going to want to invest in that. If you know a stock is going up, you're thinking, right, maybe take a chance on it, right? Whereas now you're looking at the same thing as a relationship. If you don't align with those values, or you don't respect the boundaries, or you don't respect me as a person or my morals, well, then actually, do I want to invest more time in this relationship? Am I just going to be a backseat person who just asks how you are once in a while, right?
Yeah. Just goes with the flow, never makes a decision. What do you want to do? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So no. I don't want to be that. I do want to be invested in relationships, and I am invested in relationships, and we always, you know, come to, there's not always an agreement over different points of view, but we always take time to understand each other's point of view and then agree and understand differences. So I actually love those discussions anyway.
That's so important, right? I'm so glad you raised that, because I wouldn't have thought about it. Like, there's definitely something that has to be. I appreciate your opinion, I appreciate your experience and your perspective, but I'm just here to understand it. I'm not here to judge, I'm not here to be opinionated on it. It's just, I hear you. Sometimes that's all people need, right? I hear you, and that's a good foundation for a relationship.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's giving a lot, when you just hold space for that person to debrief, download, rant, or,
and it's up to them to be vulnerable too, and it's reciprocal. Like, if you're approaching somebody with, you know, high fences and walls up, like you and I both had, I mean, we may have that same approach when it comes to somebody new or somebody we're not quite resonating with. But it's okay, because it's like, more so we're just still trying to understand them, and we may get on with that person, or we may just feel like, actually, you're not my person, or you're not the person that I want to invest time and energy and effort into. But coming to the last thing, just to round up, it was specific healing. So the fifth element was about specific healing, and I feel like this is really important because it encompasses everything that we've talked about. So at the beginning, when we said about knowing our own triggers, mastering our own emotions, be flexible with our own boundaries. What was the other one? Knowing patterns. If you've noticed how to have successful relationships, all of those 4 points that I've mentioned already are all about self.
Yeah.
They're not about the other person. And then the last one is about specific healing. So all 5 of these points about how to be successful in relationships, how does that correlate to business, yada, yada, yada. It all starts with self. So this is where I guess coaching, therapy, mentorship, no one gets to where they are without somebody else's influence that has coached them, informally or formally. It could be friends, it could be family, it could be somebody helping, right? And I feel like all of these just epitomize how can we be better as a person, and then we attract the right opportunities, the right people, the right, values and morals that other people resonate with, and that breeds success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of us are really starting to put it all together lately, and having some amazing things happened to us and for us lately.
I feel like we're just at the precipice of what's happening, and it's exciting
Oh my
to model
gosh.
of these. Maybe in a couple of years we'll be like, is that what we were talking about? Wow, we were so wise.
These are like podcast diaries, the podcast diaries. That's what they are. So we can look back and go, we talked about that. Yeah. We talked about getting to learn that, or having learned that, and where that could take us. And like we certainly are we're strapped in. We're in that rocket, and we're in the seat. Whereas before we were kind of outside the rocket and looking at the rocket going, one day we'll be in there, like we're saying about first class, one day we'll be in there. But at the moment, we're strapped into that rocket. We haven't taken off yet, but we're strapped in. And
you know how long astronauts have to sit in that rocket? Hours.
Oh, do they? Well, there you go. So our hours have just started.
I love that analogy. Normally it's me coming up with good analogies.
You're the analogy queen. Yeah, I love your analogies too.
You're on fire today. See, you won the battle. Not even a battle. You won the competition on the game that I did at the beginning, and then you managed to guess all of the right answers for this one. And I feel like it's a good way to round up. So obviously, specific healing. Just to round up on specific healing. This gives me an opportunity to go into hybrid performance. And this is specifically for women who experience stress, overwhelmed, fatigued. It's an offer that is based on one-to-one coaching. So we navigate through your personal habits, assist you through a 4-month program that caters for your lifestyle. As long as you can commit by showing up, there are so many ways that we can support you through coaching. So click on the link or head over to fitnesschicks.com /hybrid, and that's Fitness Chicks spelled FITNESSCHIX. So that's fitnesschicks.com /hybrid. And thank you so much, Cal, for another fantastic conversation, and it's just uncovering so many different stories that we've got hidden and wouldn't have ever expressed. Yeah,
so true. We're getting there. We're getting good at it. But thank you too. And I can see it's sunshine. I want you to get out in that sunshine today.
Oh, bless you. I'm going to get so dark the more sunshine I get. But I just want to say thank you as well to our audience. Thank you for supporting us on Spotify, on YouTube, and as well, if you're listening on Podbean, thank you so much for taking time to listen and taking time out of your day. If you're unaware, please support us on Patreon just for a price of a cup of coffee. So head over to the description where you can find out how to support us. And also, if you found this useful, if you enjoyed this, share this with your family and friends, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks, Tuls. You have a good day.
Mwah.